This is one of those stories that just sticks with you. It's about a single moment on live TV that somehow managed to create two completely opposite public health crises. It's a wild ride that connects a global music superstar, a really controversial anti-malarial drug, and a chain of unintended consequences that, seriously, no one could have predicted.
So these are the lyrics that just stopped millions of people cold. They're from the song L'Enfer, which means hell, by the Belgian superstar Stromae. But see, he didn't just release this as a song, oh no. The way he performed it for the first time is what ignited a global firestorm and created some very real, very measurable ripple effects. Okay, so picture this. It's a regular Sunday night. Millions of families across France are tuning into the country's most watched news program. You know, they're expecting the usual politics, the weather, maybe some sports highlights. But what they were about to get was something else entirely. A moment that completely blurred the line between news, art, and a raw public confession. Right in the middle of what looks like a totally normal interview, the host asks Stromae a question about loneliness. And instead of giving a typical answer, he just stares right into the camera. And he starts to sing. All of a sudden, this polished news desk transforms into a stage for this breathtakingly raw performance of L'Enfer, his song about fighting suicidal thoughts. It was absolutely riveting.
So you've got to ask, how did we even get here? What could possibly bring this famously private artist to share his darkest moments with millions on live television? And maybe more importantly, what happened next? Because that single performance, that one song, set off a chain reaction that experts are still arguing about today.
To really understand that TV performance, we actually have to rewind the clock about 7 years. Because the story behind that song, the pain that fueled it, didn't start in a TV studio. It started on a world tour, with a single medical prescription. Back in 2015, Stromae was literally on top of the world. His music was everywhere, his tour was a huge success. But then, out of nowhere, it all came to a screeching halt. He had to cancel the rest of his tour because of what was called a severe health crisis. He was having terrifying hallucinations, paranoia, insomnia, and the cause? It was a bad reaction to an anti-malarial drug.
And that drug was mefloquine, better known by its brand name, Lariam. Now, its origin story is really key to this whole thing. This wasn't some pill developed for a casual tourist heading on vacation. No, this drug was born out of a massive U.S. Army research program. Its original purpose was to protect soldiers from malaria during the Vietnam War.
So the drug's development was really fast-tracked to meet this military need. Its first human trials? Conducted on prisoners. And here's the kicker. By the time the FDA approved it for the general public in 1989, a massive step had been skipped. They never did large-scale safety studies on its new target audience, which was healthy travelers. And it didn't take long for the red flags to start popping up.
And we are not talking about minor side effects here. People were reporting severe neuropsychiatric events, deep depression, crippling anxiety, panic attacks, even hallucinations. One Dutch study found a staggering 47-fold increased risk of these events in women taking the drug. The data has causally linked it to at least 19 deaths, including 3 suicides. This was the drug that sent Stromae into that terrifying downward spiral.
But Stromae's personal tragedy, as awful as it was really just the beginning of the story. Once his experience became public, it kicked off this cascade of completely unforeseen consequences. And believe it or not, the first one had nothing to do with his music at all.
30%. Between 2015, the year of Stromae's breakdown, and 2018, that's how much malaria cases among Belgian travelers went up. So what on earth was going on?
Well, researchers at Belgium's Institute of Tropical Medicine actually gave it a name. They called it the Stromae effect. His story about Lariam's horrific side effects became so famous that it started to scare people. Travelers, terrified of having a similar experience, just stopped taking their anti-malarial medication altogether. And as a result, cases of a dangerous but preventable disease started to climb. That was the first, deeply ironic ripple effect.
But that was just the first wave. Years later, when he channeled all of that pain into that unforgettable TV performance, he created a second ripple, and this one was tracked by public health officials, and the results were pretty shocking.
So, get this. A study published by the National Institutes of Health dug into hospital data in France, and they found that in just the 6 days after Stromae's performance aired, daily hospital admissions for suicide attempts among young women, specifically aged 20 to 24, jumped significantly. They went from an average of about 15 a day to over 17 a day. And what's wild is that no similar increase was seen in any other age group or gender.
To understand why that might have happened, we have to look at two well-known ideas in public health. The first is called the Werther effect, and it's basically when media coverage of suicide unfortunately leads to copycat behavior. But there's also an opposite, the Papageno effect. That's when stories of hope and recovery, especially when they include resources like a helpline, can actually prevent suicides. Stromae's broadcast, as powerful as it was, had no message of hope and it offered zero resources.
So, as you can probably guess, this whole thing sparked a huge debate. Journalists, psychiatrists, the general public, everyone was weighing in. Did this unprecedented performance ultimately do more harm than good, or was it the other way around? And people were really divided. On one hand, you had supporters, including the World Health Organization, praising his incredible courage for destigmatizing the conversation around mental health. They argued he probably saved lives. But on the other hand, critics, especially in the media, accused him and the TV network of a major ethical failure. They said they used a news program as a stage, exposing millions to a really triggering topic without providing a single lifeline or resource for people who might be struggling.
So, what do we take away from this really complex, tangled story? I think it's a powerful lesson in how actions and decisions can ripple outward in ways we just can't fully predict.
Let's just trace the whole chain of events one more time. It all starts with the military needing a drug. Regulators then approve that drug without complete safety data for the public. A world-famous artist takes it and has a life-altering reaction. He then turns that suffering into art. And an artist and a broadcaster create this viral moment of vulnerability. And the final result? Two completely separate public health problems, one born from fear of the drug and the other from the raw depiction of its psychological effects.
You see, this is so much bigger than just Stromae. It's a profound case study in cause and effect. It touches on everything from pharmaceutical regulation and media ethics to the incredible power that artists have to influence public health, for better and sometimes for worse.
Which really just leaves us with this one final, difficult question. When a story this powerful is shared with millions, who's ultimately responsible for what happens next? Is it the drug company, the regulators, the artist, the broadcaster? Or is it some kind of shared responsibility that we are all, frankly, still trying to figure out?
If you like this video, like, comment, and follow for more videos that will blow your mind.